Shalom. Thanks for coming back. We're going to start our first trip into Genesis now. Give you a quick background of the first 5 books of the Bible, also known as the Torah. Uh, Without a doubt, they were written by Moses. Jesus explicitly tells us that. So if you believe in Jesus and you believe everything he says is true, then we know for a fact that the first 5 books are written by Moses. Now, there is some conjecture that the first portion of the Torah, or Genesis, is written probably by Adam and handed down until Moses got it, and then he went ahead and scribed everything else. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start with the Genesis 1 through 5. Anyways, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and he divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And evening and morning were the first day. All right. Well, it's a mouthful there. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. All right. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So, as I said, if you believe this passage, then you will have no problems believing the rest of the Bible. If that passage gives you some problems, then you've got bigger problems than what the Bible has to say. So unless you just want to see the errors of your belief, you may as well leave the blog right now. Now I want you to know that there is a major translation problems from the original text in Hebrew into English, because it actually went from Hebrew to Greek to Latin and then translated into our English. Now, with all those hands, the King James Version did a good job, even though it passed through all those hands. Other versions of the Bible are not as accurate as the King James Version. A lot of them have to do with when they were written as well. The Gnostics had a tendency to put their own spin on it. Anyways, I'm not going to bore you with that. We'll get to that when we come to parts about the church. Anyways, so after I say that, but all that I just said, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to go ahead and search it out for yourself. In Hebrew, the word God is Elohim. All right. For anyone that knows Hebrew, they'll recognize the im at the end part of it. Now that im is a plural. It always means more than one in a masculine sense. So if we're calling God Elohim, then we're saying that more than one God created the heavens and the earth. The actual Hebrew portion of it, if I can remember correct, is Barashah bara Elohim. Now, basically that says, in beginning, God. Okay? As we see Elohim. Now that's kind of funny, but that's actually the very first introduction we see to the Trinity, the Godhead, the 3 parts of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and we see that all 3 are together at the very beginning, and we see that all 3 of them have a hand in the creation process. Anyways, let's see where we're at now. All right. And the earth was without form and void, and the darkness moved upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. All right. Now here's a word. Now here the world is just a big ball, or something that really had nothing to it. Okay. It's kind of just like a dense plasma, basically. We see that the Holy Spirit is moving. The Holy Spirit, God, in the Holy Spirit form, is moving, or he's brooding upon the face of the waters, okay? Darkness here is referring to the absence of the Father, because he is light. there's a conjecture that this might be where Satan has fallen, and this is where the Lord is setting up to where he's starting to restore that which Satan had destroyed during his fall. We'll get more into that a little later, because we don't know exactly when Satan fell, but we know it had to be before chapter 3, when he tempted Eve with the fruit. So keep in mind, it's just a conjecture that maybe during this time, during what we're referring to, the face of the deep, the darkness of the deep, that may be where Satan has resided right now, and God the Father decided that he wanted to go ahead and restore that portion for his glory. Anyways, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And evening and morning were the first day. Okay, a couple things here. When he spoke light into existence, it is actually God entering back into the void and darkness area. God has always been light. We'll see this much throughout the scriptures, so more on that when we come to it. He then divided himself from the darkness, because evil cannot be in God's presence. This is an allusion to Christ. This is an allusion Christ used to point out that the wicked hide in the darkness because their evil deeds will not be seen. Because if there's light, they can see them doing it. He calls the light day and the darkness night. This is done for a future occurrence on day 4. There was evening and morning. That's the first day. An interesting thing, excuse me, an interesting thing to mention is that evening and morning may actually mean something different than we think of it. God did create the world in 6 days, but we actually shouldn't get that from here. We should actually understand that more in Exodus, and we'll go into that more when we get to that part in Exodus. Now in Hebrew, the evening and morning are said as Eva and Boka. That means Eva is kind of like as impending darkness is coming, just before things are to fizzle out of sight. For example, if you go camping and you just get there just as the sun's setting and you can barely make out things before you set up your campsite, but then when the morning comes and you're waking up and the sun's starting to rise, you can start making out things a whole lot better than what you could before. Anyways, so Eva and Boka could mean going from chaos to order. It actually makes sense when you put it into that context, because if it was just evening and morning the first day, that means that it's only a 12-hour day, and that God also worked during that night. So I like the theory of going from chaos to order better, because we all know that no matter what we do, chaos cannot ascend into order. It's always order atrophying into chaos. For instance, you clean your desk at work. A couple of weeks go by, and what happens? It's dirty. It's a mess, and you have to clean it up again. But, contrary though, you have never had a dirty desk and left for the weekend and came back and your desk was clean. It cleaned itself. That doesn't happen. Things just don't go from terrible to good. Without God's help, of course. So, anyways, let's see where we're at here. Alright, so as I said, we'll get more into the intricacies of the light and God being light and everything later on. But as we can see, just from this very first part, it took an intelligent and deliberate act to take the light, or the darkness, out and put light in. So that point alone right there pokes holes in the theory of the Big Bang and evolution, because you cannot go from chaos to order. Well, anyways, that ends at the first day. In the next chapter, I'll be dealing with the forming of the earth and of the sky. So I hope you enjoyed the information. Please feel free to comment or email me on anything that you don't understand. I'm looking forward to the next post. Until then, Shalom Yeshua, Shalom by Yeshua, which means peace in Jesus. All right, Shalom. And okay, couldn't stop it yet, so Shalom.